now, and I've told you before, the media, the Praetorian Guard media, the Democrat Party, which puts party before country, academia and Hollywood are seeking a coup of sorts. That's exactly what they're doing. Standing up for Donald Trump in this regard. Not for every issue, not for every nominee, but standing up for Donald Trump is standing up for our Constitution, for the legitimacy of the election. We cannot allow the left, and by the left I include the media, we cannot allow the left to decide who's legitimate and who is not. And keep something in mind. They hate us too. They hate us too.
Yes, worries have been increasing in recent days and months, weeks, as the inauguration approaches, that these protesters who are encouraged by the Obama administration and crooked Hillary Clinton and, we'll say, the liberal loony Democrat types will be inciting extreme violence during the protests, and perhaps some people will be planning a Trump assassination plot. Indeed, a Trump assassination conspiracy is not out of line from their opinion, from their way of thinking. This is horrendous by any stretch of the imagination. Now, many believe that this is the overall game plan of the so-called Illuminati. Donald Trump is their enemy. Why? Because Donald Trump doesn't care for globalism. He doesn't care for the fact that globalist, huge, multinational corporations are starting to try, and they've been trying for many years, to control the world. You see, according to Trump, he doesn't use these specific words, but those globalists, they don't care about you, they don't care about your family. They would prefer to have riots and violence and death in the streets of America and around the world, just so they can control everybody for money.
What I'm hearing overall is that there is indeed an actual planned coup attempt being planned for Inauguration Day, January 20, J20. And the cover story for this is that it is a peaceful protest. It's free speech protest. It's public protest. You know, a women's march. I don't know, a labor union march, or whatever they come up with. That's the cover story. What's really happening is that they hope to foment enough anger and to amass enough people on that day that it flips over into a popular uprising, and they literally flood into the Capitol buildings, not just the Capitol building itself, but they try to take over perhaps the White House, which won't work, by the way. They're going to fail. Or they try to take over the geography of power in Washington, D.C., or they camp out there. They stake it out. They try to do an Occupy Washington, D.C., basically, kind of operation. That's actually, come to think of it, that's the best way to describe it. We were so close to that happening. And they, by the way, they would have gone through and arrested and executed most of the independent media journalists at some point in Clinton's first term. It's all part of the plan. It's all, read this work by Yuri Bezmenov, and you can find out that's exactly what they do. It is time to take back America from the cultural subversion of the radical left, the communist influence, Marxist influence, radical left-wing, even terrorists and murderers who killed cops and so on. It's time to shut that whole sector of society down. It is time to shut that down. And if it takes Trump issuing arrest warrants, and it takes putting police out there onto the streets for a little while to get that done and find the treasonous subversives who need to be arrested and prosecuted, then Trump is going to have our full support in getting that done. We can no longer tolerate losing our country. We are going to protect America. We're going to protect Texas. We're going to protect our Constitution, protect our rights, and protect our president. End of story. Anybody has a problem with that? Good luck.
So the Republic's the real deal. We're doing it. The enemy's engaging us. Everybody needs to be packing, like I told you on Friday and on Sunday. Get ready. Democrats are going to be killing people, a lot of folks. And obviously, just like you don't see conservatives going out and doing mass shootings, they don't want to blame the Second Amendment. They don't want to go out and kill people. It's almost always drug-head Democrats, devil worshippers, you name it. That's their M.O. The Democrats know when they mass kill now, they know to not say they're Democrat operatives. They just want to use that to get the Second Amendment and get a civil war going. But he had Antifa material inside. The sheriff's now coming out saying they're investigating that, which means they found evidence. Just like I told you, that's huge. Later, with this event and this attack, the leftists, the globalists, the social engineers are going to use those dear lives of those poor people who were snuffed out to try to wound what's left of our republic and complete our journey into disarmament. They are foisting this guilt down on all of us, and it's a horrible assault. And Michelle Obama has come out and said white people are the problem. Yes, we have video. Hillary said the same thing. They are making their move for race war in America. It's cold-blooded. It's admitted in the WikiLeaks. But here, ladies and gentlemen, is the good news. This is not 1995 where they can carry out an event like Oklahoma City that was a real bomb, but was staged by criminal elements of the federal government working with German intelligence and a major tax-free foundation who's recently been caught with a lot of money overseas. Yes. The Southern Poverty Law Center was running Elohim City where the attack came out of. They weren't infiltrating it. They ran it. They commanded it. They're getting ready for war. And in full spectrum dominance, they're going to carry out the attacks. And then they're going to turn around and blame us and say our rights and our freedoms are to blame. Get it? That's 21st century warfare. You carry out the attack, and then you blame your enemy who you just killed. You're awake to what they're doing. And so they now have weaponized all the media and the NFL and the late night shows, and that's not working either. So now they've got to wind up one of their toys to go out and shoot hundreds of people to try to then project it on us and say, see, we should be running things. We know you did it, scum. Bare minimum, by hyping the whole thing, you're to blame. You think you're hunting us? Get ready. We're going to destroy you politically, and we're going to hold our fire. But you watch, they're going to false flag even bigger now. They're going for total broke to break your will. And if they do that, then they're going to put 50 million people in forced labor camps. That's mainstream news, and they can't wait to give every one of these little communists time with your wife and kids in some dungeon, because that's what they want. I'm not kidding. They're coming. You wanted to see the fight for America? You're living it. 2017, baby. This is it. Toe-to-toe combat with the globalist, politically.
Now the Refuse Fascism group, a related communist organization here in America, is planning a series of demonstrations on November 4th. Other groups of communists are climbing on board, but not all of them. One group, the Revolutionary Communist Party, has jumped on board, and this is significant since they were the primary organization that organized all the anti-police demonstrations all over the country in 2015. The mainstream media is saying nothing is going to happen on November the 4th. It remains to be seen. Frankly, we hope nothing happens.
And they've got big, giant articles. This nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go. November 4th, it begins. Be there. Join with thousands who gather in cities and towns across the country. A movement of protests that continue every day and night, growing until we become millions, determined not to stop until the regime is driven from power. $18 billion put in by George Soros to be led by Linda Saussure, the pro-sexual mutilation Muslim.
365 days. Gosh, sorry. Get the great exception out here. 365 days, and we're no longer allowed to walk in public and pray. If you're a Republican, you have to fear getting beaten, destroyed, maimed, killed. because you're a Nazi then. That leads me into Antifa's next step. On their website, they are calling for an open civil war that they will start here in the United States in November. They are fundraising for weapons, training, ammunition, supplies. They're not hiding this. They're openly fundraising so that they could get the stuff together to attack, and this is verbatim what they're going to do. They will start off by attacking police officers, first responders, anybody that's in uniform. And after they have disrupted that enough in the nation, and us first responders are literally going everywhere trying to resolve things, they will then go after the citizens and the people and the government and all of that. So if you're white, you're a Trump supporter, you're a Nazi then to them, and it will be open game on you. I don't know why we're allowing this, but it is time that, honestly, if our leaders and our leadership isn't going to step up and finish this, we have to. Each and every one of us has to. And that is our right, and that is what we must do.
And so what happens is people eventually become mob violent. Mob violence is what they revert to. And that is what is going to happen in this country. You have not seen mob violence yet in this country. You've seen some mob violence from those instigated by George Soros's mobs. Do I have to name the organizations? I do in great detail, all 60 or 80 of them, who have instigated the minorities to riot in this country. They're all listed in Trump's war. But you haven't seen the thing I'm telling you is coming in this country. You haven't seen the day of the locusts yet. Because when Eddie finally gets up and says that's the end of the road, and Eddie's eyes turn red and blood is in his eyes, Eddie will turn the society upside down. And if they take Trump down through Mueller or through any other source and deny Eddie his vote, there will be a civil war in this country. It will start slowly, but it'll be like Fort Sumter, which started with one cannon shot. I'm warning you. I'm warning you, all of you leftists who think you're going to steal our vote, you're wrong. We've had it up to here. We put up with your garbage in the universities. We put up with your filth coming out of your filth factories in Hollywood. We put up with your hatred that comes out of your newspapers. We put up with your filth and your hatred coming out of CNN. But if you do the next step and steal our president, I warn you, you've seen nothing yet. You will see the day of the locust in this country. I'll be right back.